If Trump is calling for a Sabbath rest for one set of people, I can assure you that eventually Christians will be in his ear saying,
"Where is our day?"
We want our day of rest as well.
And that day will be Sunday. If you didn't know, the president recently called for a day of Sabbath rest for Jews. And really, he seemed to make this call for all people and communities to take a day of rest as well, a day of reflection. But this is different from the days of prayer that we see from time to time. But here's the problem. I also happen to believe that the government should not be promoting one God or one religion over any others. It started at the National Prayer Breakfast.
To support this exciting renewal this morning, I'm pleased to announce that on May 17th, 2026, that we're inviting Americans from all across the country to come together on our national mall to pray, to give thanks. We're going to rededicate America as one nation under God. But now it's just getting to a level that we've never reached before as a country. But that includes religion. And I've always said, you just can't have a great country if you don't have religion.
Once religion takes over a government, once a religion is selected as the de facto religion of the state, it always ends with the majority persecuting the minority. The fact that Christians and Jews are the ones being favored speaks volumes. This is not a situation where people are being encouraged to practice their faith in general. Not so. This is a situation where only the Jewish and Christian faiths are being favored and highlighted. And here's the part that really troubles me. Take a look at this short clip.
Friday is for Muslims, Saturday for Jews, Sunday for Christians.
Take your day.
Take your day, okay.
Think about it. What about the Muslim? What about the Hindu? What about the other faiths and people groups in the United States? Where's their day? As a Christian, while I certainly do not believe that the other faiths are the true faiths, nonetheless, that doesn't matter. There should be no special preferences for any faith. And once this preferential can of worms is opened, it will not get closed. You see, Christians believe that the Sabbath of the Jews is Saturday, and the Sabbath of the Christians is Sunday, and that you can pick your Sabbath. I happen to disagree with that. I believe that the Bible has defined the Sabbath as the seventh day, and that has not changed. But here's the point that I really want you to focus on. If Trump is calling for a Sabbath rest for one set of people, I can assure you that eventually Christians will be in his ear saying,
"Where is our day?"
We want our day of rest as well.
And that day will be Sunday. What we're witnessing right now is not new. It's a repetition of what happened in early Christianity. And just like back then, it's coming in waves. In 313 AD, Constantine made special accommodations for the Christian church, granting clergy tax exemptions and civic privileges, the same kind of preferential treatment being offered today. By 321 AD, it escalated to the first civil Sunday law in history. Sunday was legislated as a national day of rest. By 325 AD, Constantine had become so entangled in church affairs that he personally presided over the Council of Nicaea, the same kind of entanglement we see today when the state takes up religious causes on the international stage, including, as I already said, the Iran wars. And finally, in 380 AD, the Edict of Thessalonica made Christianity the official state religion of Rome. And that is exactly the destination that voices like Doug Wilson are openly calling for. And the Apostle John saw this coming. Revelation lays this out plainly in chapter 13 as it relates to the mark of the beast and the image of the beast. And if you don't understand what the image is, in essence, it's just Christianity today repeating what Christianity did in its early stages. Whether you understand this or not, this is a bold step in the direction of religious legislation. This indicates that legislators are more than willing to appease their constituency by calling for religious days of rest. Whether Saturday or Sunday, this has reached the point that it has gone way over the line. I know that some will say many presidents have called for national days of prayer in difficult times. However, when there is a directly attached religious practice for a specific holy day of a specific religion, then America, we most certainly have a problem. Revelation 13 and 14 outlines something much deeper than the mark of the beast, which is forced worship. In addition to the mark of the beast, Revelation 13 and 14 also mentions something referred to as the name of the beast. Going on in Revelation 14, it says, "And they have no rest day or night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name." And so we have two things: the image of the beast, which, as I said, is when church and state combine as it did in early Christianity, and also the name of the beast, which is the character of the beast. And all that is the mentality that we have the right to control or compel others to practice our chosen religion. Unfortunately, we know where this is headed. It's nothing more than history repeating itself from early Christianity, leading into and during the Dark Ages, which saw the church gaining more and more political power and eventually completely uniting church and state. Revelation 13 prophesies that this will indeed happen again, and the reckless abandon with which religious leaders and religious adherents are either supporting or remaining silent about these movements speaks to the reality of the direction that this country is taking. And that direction is not going to lead to a good place. Most Christians don't understand this. However, there are some that do, including other Sabbath keepers that have also been sharing their concerns about these movements. This is why I am so relieved to be a part of a Christian denomination that understands the importance of the separation of church and state. And unfortunately, there are not many of these kinds of denominations to go around. But despite this belief, even people of my faith, including myself, have made the mistake of focusing solely on Sunday laws without fully addressing the underlying issue, which is that God does not force the conscience, and that he does not use the government to do his job, and that any attempt to do so, whether or not it agrees with my faith, is contrary to the will of God. This is why getting this message out matters now more than ever. It's so important that we understand the issues at hand and use our voices to speak up before things really go off the rails and the image to the Holy Roman Empire takes root. Soon enough, there will be calls for legislators to implement a day of rest and worship for all people. And this call today shows the willingness of leaders and citizens to embrace these kinds of calls. These movements are going to lead to forced worship. But please remember that God is a God of freedom. He does not force and he does not compel. He simply shows us his love and then asks us to choose him. And I pray that what he has revealed to us about his character will be enough for you and I to choose him freely. God bless.